What's going on, everybody? Jack Acid with ApexHead.com, bringing you episode 17 of the F1 2012 I Am No Expert Career Mode series. And before we get this started, gonna accept this contract offer from Lotus. Remember, we had beaten Grosjean several times in the past, and he was our chosen rival. And I mentioned at the end of my last video, but now accepting the offer from Lotus. So excited to be racing for them next year. But now on to the task at hand here at India, at the Buddha International Circuit. Heavy rain here in Q1, and you can see that probably going to be raining throughout the entire session. And naturally, there's only a 16% chance of rain on race day, and that means that it's probably going to be a dry race. At least that's what experience tells me. So going to have to go ahead and go with the dry setup despite the weather, and have to expect that's going to cost me significantly in qualifying, not to mention the fact that conditions are dreadful anyway. But I'm going to have to just sort of roll the dice there and hope that things go better on race day, assuming we don't qualify well. But going out on the full wets, and of course that may change as the session goes on. There might be an opportunity if the rain lets up to go out on intermediates, but you can see here coming around the start of our warm-up lap and drifting wide there at the end of that turn. Going to go ahead and turn up my fuel mix for whatever good it's going to do me. Going wide here, coming around the last turn, coming down the main straight, finally getting my time started, but this is absolutely miserable. Probably one of the heaviest rains I've seen all season. And so now skipping ahead to the end of my second time lap, you can see my first time there just over a 143, and able to improve our time just a bit here. Hulkenberg right now running P1 in the 141 range, so you know that obviously going to get bumped down as the session goes on. Even though I don't have significant tire wear, might as well throw on a fresh set before we go back out here. Just under 12 minutes to play in Q1. And the reason, of course, is that we're not going to need these wet tires come race day, assuming that we start out in dry conditions, be able to start out on the options or the primes. And of course, there's no way to know where the rain's going to come. The chance for rain indicator just gives you a percentage, and it doesn't actually tell you when it's going to be. But experience tells me it's usually at the end of the race. So that's my assumption. And I'm going to go ahead and burn up these tires as much as I can. But you can see here, after 5 laps, having all kinds of problems, just not getting anywhere. And now starting to wonder if maybe I should go out on the intermediates. Obviously a gamble, but I'm just setting such terrible times and having so many problems. And it makes me wonder if actually the conditions are improving, but that's obviously not the case. Sliding off into the gravel here, so going to have to settle for P17, which in the end would actually be P18, so that's going to be the end of my qualifying session here in Q1. But remember, we were running the dry setup, and in anticipation for a dry race day, and who knows, maybe the other teams on the grid were running a wet setup. So this could all fall back into our favor here on this bright sunny day here in India. The sunshine obviously being a welcome sight. Team objective is to finish in 12th spot. Taking a quick look at the starting grid, Fernando Alonso with Ferrari on pole position, and Pastor Maldonado qualifying in P5, and the Red Bulls pushed down to 6th and 7th with Vettel leading there. Kimi Räikkönen down in P16, that's a surprising spot for him. Michael Schumacher finally knocked down a peg and qualifying in 11th. He's been qualifying top 5 for the last couple of races, it would seem. So obviously a very good run for the German, and we've had our fair share of tangles over the last couple of races. Taking a quick look at the weather, and sure enough, we still have the 16% chance of rain, but as expected, that won't come until the end of the race, if at all. And that's going to be well after our tire change, so hopefully it won't come to the point where we all have to pit late. And if things hold up, we'll be pitting in lap 6, and of course changing the race fuel strategy to be normal versus cautious. And going to try some different things here at India using that fuel strategy. Typically I'll burn it off when I'm running on the prime tires, but now I'm going to try some situational use of that fuel and use it throughout certain sectors on the circuit versus running it lap after lap. So maybe that'll have an impact. And ideally keep the AI off my back as the race goes on. So lights going out here at India, and here we go. Down at P18, terrible start. Nico Hulkenberg able to get a good jump, and here comes Charles Pic on the right-hand side. Very bold move on the inside there, and he's ahead for just a moment as we look for some gaps here in the field. Coming around turn 1, now turn 2, hanging around on the right-hand side of Rosberg. Now coming up to a very slow turn 3, and slight contact wheel-to-wheel with Massa coming out, and all kinds of contact up ahead. Looks like Kobayashi and Maldonado came together and tried to take advantage of that. Now wheel-to-wheel with my teammate, and finally Kamui backing off. And as I just mentioned, gonna go ahead and up the fuel mix coming down the long straight. One of the longest straights on the calendar. Let's see if we can make a move on the inside of Weber. and able to get around him, but starting to lose the grip just a little bit, drifting off track. That's going to allow Weber to get back by. We did overtake Sebastian Vettel there at the start of turn 3, so he's in our rear view mirrors for now. In fact, he's being held off by Maldonado at the moment, and this is an extremely tricky sequence of corners, turns 5, 6, and 7. Have a really hard time keeping my speed up coming through there, and you can see Maldonado trying to take advantage of that very fact and trying to stay on line, coming around a very wide sweeping turn 10, a very awkward corner. And this entry into turn 11, extremely easy to come up over that hill and find yourself off the track there. But you can see trying to stay ahead and losing the grip there, rolling up over the curb. And Maldonado extremely keen to get around as we come around one of the final corners here at turn 15, now coming down into turn 16 and changing my fuel mix back to standard. And let's see if we go wide here at turn 1. Yes, we do, just a little bit, rolling up over the curb, but you can see the gap to the cars behind, not too bad. But at the end of lap 1, we're all the way up into P3, which is an unbelievable start. But of course, the real question is can I hold the P3 spot going into the pits? In all likelihood, I'll lose a couple of positions coming out of the pits, but want to keep it for now. So skipping all the way to lap 3, coming around turn 10 and now 11 again. And again, that's the slowest part of the circuit for me, my slowest sector. And Maldonado really smelling blood in the water, trying to stick with me. And you can see just a little bit of problems coming out of that corner, starting to lose my grip as I start to go a little bit wide here at turn 15, but no window for Maldonado. And now coming down into turn 16, let's see if we can get some set. No, going wide here, not shifting down into first gear nearly quickly enough. Now able to get back onto the tarmac, but Maldonado's got all the momentum he needs, and here he comes on the right-hand side. Able to overtake easily, changing our fuel mix now being hounded by the car behind and able to outbrake Maldonado down into turn 1 and thankfully get the position back. That was extremely close, and that's all due to going wide there at turn 16. So now being extremely ginger coming around turn 3 and very anxious to see what kind of pace the AI has coming down this very long back straight. And as you can see, Maldonado really the only car behind of any threat as of now, even though he's got a good train of cars behind him. And so now seeing that he's no real threat, going to go ahead and change my fuel mix back to standard and conserve some of that fuel. Fortunately for me, the Sauber is very, very fast in a straight line. And so that's something that I've been able to use to my advantage. But now coming into Sector 2, which again is undoubtedly my bane for this circuit. Turn 5 right here, not too bad, but as you'll see later on, turn 6 and 7, extremely difficult. So now skipping ahead to the end of lap 4, and obviously a lot cleaner coming around turn 16. And still ahead of Maldonado by just a little bit here and shaving off just under half a second from our last lap time. And trying to negotiate the very tricky turn 1 and losing the car and rolling up over the grass. Back onto the tarmac now as Maldonado tries to exploit the error and basically lost the car completely coming down into turn 1. And very, very fortunate to not lose the position. Upping the fuel mix now as we come down the long straight. Definitely expecting some problems from the Williams car. We'll have to wait and see. DRS now activated. And it looks like I should be able to stay ahead of him here, but we're going to have to see what happens. No, he's not going to be able to make any kind of a move. And so far so good coming around that corner for the most part anyway. But again, that's not really my problem on the circuit. That's the easy part. This is the sequence that's kind of the make or break for me. Coming around through turn 5 and now trying to drop it down. And again, going way too wide, cutting off the chicane there at turn 7. And that's a very, very frustrating portion of the track for me. Maldonado not happy with me at all, and why would he be? Now coming around turn 10 and trying to stick pretty close to the curb, accelerating out. And trying to maintain 4th gear, but going to have to drop it down on a 3rd. In contact there with Maldonado. It looks like he got his nose clipped. And have to speculate I was drifting a little bit wide, and he tried to make a move on the inside, and that was that. Had no opportunity to see him. No warning from the steward, so considered a race incident. And now being advised by my engineer that there could be rain coming up. And problems here again at turn 5. What do you know? Rolling down the grass a little bit there. But obviously having skipped ahead here to lap 6, and you can see now being chased by Lewis Hamilton, who's very keen to get around me here. And again going a little bit wide, and here comes Hamilton on the inside. So that's basically what led to the incident with Maldonado. And will history repeat itself? Not quite, but Lewis Hamilton obviously very, very close. And being reminded by my engineer to come into pit, which I'm gladly going to do. Hopefully I can keep Hamilton behind me coming around these last sets of corners. You can see that my tires are worn out pretty good. And definitely feeling some loss in grip, that's for sure. Not helped by the fact that just don't really know the circuit that well. And this pit entry is extremely difficult. You have to really get your speed down before you can turn into it correctly. I had a lot of problems in practice with it. So now changing the fuel mix down to lean as we go through the pit. And Lewis has come in behind us, so hopefully we can beat him out here. Right now in P4, and able to get out in just over 3.3 seconds, and more importantly, beat out Hamilton coming out of the pits. So looks like we're not going to have too much company coming out of the pit exit, and that's good news. So that means we should be able to hold this position, and we are able to do so with ease. And you can see quite a few cars coming down right now. So I'm going to try and take advantage of this gap and get my tires warmed up. It's a good time to be on the cold tires when you don't have as much company. But that could change quickly, especially at the end of the long straight, as it looks like Carthaginian is currently riding in P7, undoubtedly hasn't gone into pit yet. Now skipping ahead to the end of lap 7, and let's see what kind of company we have coming out of the pit row. And pulling up now, and you can see that Kobayashi, my teammate, is actually coming out now, and it looks like he's going to come out behind us. So we're able to overtake him and get up into P4, so that's actually better than I expected. Was really expecting to drop back maybe to P5, possibly even that P6. But very happy to see the P4 spot. The real question is, we have quite a bit of time to go here, and that leaves plenty of opportunity for a disaster. Now changing the fuel mix, and you can see I've got a very good gap back to, looks like Lewis Hamilton. So he was actually able to beat out Kobayashi as well. So we're not racing with our teammate just yet, but that could change. And Lewis Hamilton giving me heat coming through turn 10. And there he is, still trying to master this corner. Definitely don't have it down yet. And able to just get back in front of Hamilton again. And you can see he started to waver just a bit. So yet another close call coming through turn 11. Now coming through turn 14 and rolling up over the curb and starting to lose the car. And here comes Hamilton again. You really want to avoid that curb at turn 14. I usually don't have my angle right, and I roll over it way more than I should. And the real trick is, if you're going to hit it, you have to keep your nose straight when you come down, and until you have that grip, you just can so easily lose the car. But for now, able to stay ahead of Hamilton, running a P4, obviously an empty pit lane, so this is going to be 4 final positions here. And Lewis Hamilton very quick coming down that start-finish straight, giving me a lot of trouble coming down there, so all of a sudden, there are multiple parts of the circuit that I have to be worried about the AI. Now coming around turn 3, and let's see if Lewis Hamilton's able to do anything coming down the long straight. And you can see we still have 3 extra laps of fuel, so so far my fuel strategy working pretty well. But you can see Lewis Hamilton making a hard push. Looks like he's going to have some room, and here he goes on the inside. And now backing off, didn't have quite enough room to stretch his legs there, so able to stay in front of him. But you just have to think it's a matter of time for Lewis Hamilton. And sure enough, here at turn 13, going wide, rolling up over the curb, and there he goes on the inside, trying to stick with him, rolling up over the curb at turn 14, and now trying to fend off Michael Schumacher in the Mercedes coming around turn 15. So now we've lost the P4 spot, trying to stick with Lewis, changing our fuel mix, coming around the start-finish straight. Oh, very close, very slow coming around there. Slight contact with the McLaren. And don't want to forget about Schumacher. This is exactly how I got into trouble at Korea, where Michael Schumacher was able to steal a position. There he goes on the left-hand side, able to outbrake him. Let's see if we can get around Lewis, and wheel-to-wheel coming around turn 1, and trying to leave him some room, and able to get ahead of him. Let's see if we can make things stick coming around turn 3, and a terrible angle, rolling off into the gravel, and this is going to be all kinds of problems. There goes Hamilton, and here comes Schumacher on the inside, wheel-to-wheel. He's able to overtake us easily. And now we have to be concerned about our teammate Kamui Kobayashi riding at P7, coming down this long back straight, trying to stick with Michael coming down here. Let's see if Kamui's going to have a go, and he's not going to be able to. Let's see if we can get in front of Michael. And much like our duel with Mark Webber on lap 1, going a little bit wide on the braking point there, and that's going to let Schumacher back by, so a failed overtake at the end of the long straight. And it's official. We are fighting for our lives here, trying to stick with Schumacher coming through turn 5. Let's see what happens at turn 6. Going a little bit wide, another bad angle. Have to cut off the corner to stay ahead of Kamui Kobayashi. And I have to admit, that was an act of desperation. And starting to lose the car coming out of turn 9. And things are unraveling very swiftly here for us. Coming around turn 10, you can see just how long of a set of cars there are behind us. And coming through turn 11 pretty quickly there. And we are really going to have to compose ourselves if we want to maintain this spot. And thankfully able to avoid the curb coming through turn 14, but you can see Kamui Kobayashi extremely quick coming around here. So now as we head to the end of lap 10, have to think that coming down the start-finish straight and possibly the long back straight is going to be my only chance to catch up with Schumacher, if I'm going to be able to do so at all. and still having 5 laps to go. Going to change the fuel mix. I'll probably turn that up full blast, maybe around lap 13, somewhere around there. Could probably afford to do it even sooner than that, but don't want to run out of fuel, of course. Rather be safe than sorry. So let's see if we can make up any ground on Schumacher coming around the long straight. Obviously handling turn 3 a lot better, but you can see that the Mercedes is very, very quick coming down here, even with the fuel mix. In fact, it looks like I'm under a second behind, or excuse me, over a second behind, so DRS not a factor. But the good news is you can see Kobayashi behind us. He's not able to gain much ground either. So coming around turn 3 and starting to lose the grip on the car again, and able to save it before there's too much damage, but the gap that I had started to build with Kobayashi wiped out completely. And so right when I think I can get comfortable, end up having some kind of a problem or an error. So now skipping ahead to the same part of the track on lap 12 and handling 6 and 7, the best I have all race. Coming through turn 8 and handling things wrong here at turn 9, rolling up over the curb off the track. And let's see if Kobayashi's able to get around, almost able to overtake on the outside and not able to get around me, but you can see he's really swinging around looking for a way now, and I'm just cutting off all the inside angles here to try and keep this position. Really don't want to lose it to a Kamui, and you can see just how quick he is. And now tire wear is starting to become a little bit more of a factor, skipping ahead to the end of lap 13 now, and all of a sudden up into P5. So something has happened to one of the leaders up ahead, all of a sudden running on a P5 spot. Not sure what happened. There was certainly no incident back where I'm at, but you can see that now riding P5, and it looks like Alonso's leading the race. So Mark Webber, I'm not sure who it was that was in front of us, but we'll have to take a look at the end of the race. But not going to complain. P5, very happy with that. And we've got 2 laps to go to maintain this spot, so as long as we don't have problems. Now trying to catch up with, looks like a back marker of some kind. And currently have 2 extra laps of fuel. And so probably going to leave the rich fuel setting on for the rest of the race. Probably could have left that on a little bit sooner, but you never know. I have had problems in qualifying. So coming down to the end of the long straight, and yes, in fact, that is a back marker, Timo Glock in the Marussia car. Let's see if he lets us by, and yes, he will. And undoubtedly, my competition from behind will have no problem getting around him there as well. So now skipping ahead to the end of lap 14 and going wide here at turn 15. And Kamui has a small window there, and you can see he's pushing right up on our gearbox now. As we come around the final corner, engineer just blathering on about being within 1 second, which has been true for several laps. So got 1 lap to go here. And yeah, still have 2 extra laps of fuel. So my strategy, I think, for using the rich fuel mix was good, but I think I could have been even more aggressive. But you know, it varies every track, so you never really know. And I'll probably do the same thing at Abu Dhabi, and except for maybe keep it on a little bit longer instead of just along the main straights, which I'm primarily using it just to fend off the AI, who's typically giving me a hard time on these long straights. But as you can see here on the final lap, that Kamui really no threat coming down here, and I think this is really going to come down to keeping the car online. And as we've seen early on throughout the race, as Kamui catches up with me very, very well coming through turn 4. As we've seen, that's definitely not a given in terms of keeping it on track. So let's see what happens coming through my favorite set of corners, turn 5, and now turn 6, dropping it down into second gear, being a little careful about it, but obviously much, much cleaner looking. I'm not sure it's much faster. And finally handling turn 9 there. Was having no problem with that turn early on, but sort of degraded as the race went on. And now coming through turn 11 one final time, and the only corner really left to conquer here is turn 14. Want to avoid the curb, coming up around right here, and able to do so. But losing the car just a little bit there, Kamui able to cinch up. But unless I have any problems coming around here, I should be able to stay ahead of him. Of course, there is turn 16, which I did have the problems with earlier on in the race, but not when I'm being this careful. Not feeling nearly as aggressive about it when I know I don't really have time to make up, just have to stay ahead, and that's what I'm able to do here, finishing in P5. So despite starting P18 and having all kinds of problems in the race, this is a great result. And Kamui able to finish in 6th, so a very good day for Sauber. Pretty surprised with the result. I think it was a byproduct of all the commotion at the start of the race coming out of turn 3. So taking a look at the race results, Fernando Alonso winning the race, and Sebastian Vettel finishing behind Sauber altogether, down in P7. And looking at the bottom of the grid, Kimi Räikkönen unable to improve on his P16 start, and the DNF in question was Nico Rosberg, who must have been riding up near the front. So something happened with the Mercedes car, and that's how we were able to jump from 6th to 5th. So we appreciate the car failure, Nico, anytime. Gonna leave you guys here with some race highlights, and let's see what happens to Pastor. There it is. Contact coming through turn 11. It looked like he was getting ready to make a move, and I inadvertently put an end to that idea. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Please check out the rest of my channel for a number of other videos like these. I've got 2 seasons worth. We are nearing the end of this series, which will be, let's see, 3 more races after this. So 3 more videos to go, and then probably be biding our time for the fall release, although I might post periodic videos of F1 2012. Not exactly sure. I got to devote some time to Grid 2 in about 2 or 3 weeks here, so that'll be my focus for a bit. If you have any interest in the real Formula 1 season, we're 4 rounds into it, heading into Catalonia next week. I am posting Grand Prix race reviews on my website, ApexHead.com, and I'm including podcasts with all of those. So feel free to check those out if you follow the real sport, and welcoming feedback for that as well. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see you at the next one.